3.19 is a conversion example. There's one major problem I have with this textbook, and that is that it doesn't usually give you the necessary information. So a lot of these questions may be similar to the ones that you have on an exam, but on an exam I'm not expecting you to memorize a bunch of constants like the constant speed of light, the speed that light travels. There's things on the formula sheet you don't have to memorize. You can use those. And I would give you, if there's something you need to solve a problem that's not on the formula sheet, I would put it in the question of the exam as information that you can use. So if you look at 3.19, it says, how many minutes would it take a radio wave to travel from the planet Venus to Earth? So that does give you some information. It says that the distance from Venus to Earth is about 28 million miles. The Venus to Earth distance. So we want to express this quantity in units of time, in minutes, instead of in units of miles. Right? So it's a conversion. We have this distance, this quantity representing this thing, and we want to take that quantity, and instead of showing that quantity as a distance, we want to show it as a measure of time, the time it would take for a radio wave to go that distance. So if we're going to think about expressing one quantity that we have in certain units and we want to convert those to different units, we need some relationships. So what relationship do we need here? We might need miles to meters. So that's something we could think about getting a relationship for. Ultimately, though, we are going to need some relationship between distance, which is measured in miles, and time if we're asked to convert that into minutes. Right? So we need some relationship between distance and time. And what is that relationship? Right, that's the speed of light. Right? So since it's light that's traveling, and through a vacuum there's no reflection, so the light travels at a constant speed. So we need to know the speed at which light travels. So that would have to be given to you. I don't expect you to memorize that. Right? So you'd have to find that in the textbook. I believe, if I recall, it's 3 times 10 to the 8th meters per 1 second, or equal to 1 second. And so that's a relation. If it's light, in each second it travels 3.0 times 10 to the 8th meters. So that will convert distance to time. If we want to know how many minutes that's going to take, so I also probably want to take this million and express it numerically. $28 million, I could express that as 28 times 10 to the 6th, or 28,000,000 miles, right? So that's what the question is really asking. I've got to then get a relationship between seconds and minutes. If I can get to seconds using the speed of light, I'll need to be able to get to minutes. So we know that relationship. But I still need to get from minutes to miles, or I'm sorry, from miles to meters, so that I can convert from meters to seconds and then seconds to minutes. So I still need this information, and as I said when we started talking about units in Chapter 1, I'm not going to expect you to solve problems on exams involving the English system of measurement. We're going to be using the metric system. So you need to be able to use that metric table that relates different metric prefixes to one another by powers of 10. Any other relationship would either be on the formula sheet or I would give it to you. I don't expect you to know this relationship. I don't know most of them. I don't know how many miles are in or how many meters are in a mile. Does anyone know that? Does anyone want to Google it real quick? 1,609. Thank you. Okay, well I'm already limited to 2 sig figs here, so there's no need for me to get too crazy with extra sig figs there, but I do appreciate that. So now I've got the relationships I need. I can kind of just focus on the units. I've got miles. I can go from miles to meters, from meters to seconds, and from seconds to minutes, and that's the unit I want. So I've got to then just apply those relationships. I want miles to cancel. For every 1 mile, that's equal to 1609 meters. For every 3 times 10 to the 8th meters. So that number I remember, but I'm not too sure about the sig figs on it. I'm not sure if I can get 2 sig figs there. It might actually be 2.9. I think it's like 2.98. So I think that would round up to 3.0. Times 10 to the 8th meters equals 1 second for the speed of light. And then for every 60 seconds, that's 1 minute. So I can just make sure that I've plugged things in correctly and the undesired units cancel. I get the unit I want. So then I've got to plug that into my calculator. (28) times 10 to the 6th, or 28e6 times 1609 divided by 3e8 divided by 60, and I get 2.5 minutes.